of the country as we work in towards the...
I'm Mike Seidel from the Weather Channel. We've got the latest on Hurricane Nora, a very unusual weather system. We've never seen a tropical storm, at least on record, make it all the way into Arizona. This may be the first. Let's show you the effects of Nora on Wednesday across the Baja of California around Cabo San Lucas. This is the Pacific coastline, and you can see the huge waves crashing on shore. In fact, people in that resort area have been sandbagging. There's been water running in the streets. Tuna fishing boats have headed into port, and tourists have headed home in the resort town of Cabo San Lucas. Here in Yuma, they're getting prepared for the heavy rainfall. It's already raining there. Sandbagging going on Wednesday. The Weather Channel crew, Jim Cantori, reporting live from there Wednesday night. We'll be back with him first thing Thursday morning. They are set and getting set for what could be one of the worst rainfalls in a long time, if maybe not on record. This is an area which normally gets about 3-4 inches of rainfall a year, and some areas may get 5 upwards to 10 inches of rain. And look what they're doing. Buying the water, that's a great idea because your water may be unsafe for drinking. The candles in case the power goes out. Don't forget the batteries for the radio and for the flashlight. Meanwhile, the latest from the Hurricane Center in Miami on Nora, 11 o'clock Pacific time. Next update at 2 a.m. Pacific, and that would be 5 a.m. East Coast time. Right now, the hurricane is just about on land, or at least to the point here. That's Punta y Eugenia. That's Punta is point in Spanish. Looks like it's going to cross over the point and then come right up in this direction, expected to track up towards Yuma. It won't have much time over the Baja area, so although it will weaken, it still may come into Arizona as a tropical storm. Again, the only tropical storm we have on record to come into the southwest was one around San Diego back in 1939. So this is very, very unusual, historical actually. Moving north at 17, sustained winds of 85 miles an hour. It will begin weakening as it makes landfall and loses its warm water energy source, the warm Pacific water. Numerous warnings and watches up from the government of Mexico. We've got hurricane warnings up along the coastline here, and also over on the other side of the Baja, we also have hurricane warnings up, tropical storm warnings to the south, and for the extreme northern part of the Baja of California, we have a tropical storm watch, including Tijuana. You may never see that again in your lifetime. This is almost unheard of. Look at this. Unlike Linda, which stayed out here, this one is just about ready to make landfall. The eye just south of the point here. The heavier showers and storms right now are located out on the western flank, but this rain is all moving up. So even if you don't get a lot of wind or even tropical storm force winds, those of you watching in the southwest, you're going to get a lot of rainfall. Flash flood watch is already in effect. Some of these have kicked in. Some of these kick in first thing Thursday morning. You can see the darker green, including Las Vegas, including Phoenix, Yuma, El Centro, and the Colorado River Valley. And again, with the heavy rainfalls in the deserts with a sandy soil, a lot of runoff, flash flooding, and mudslides. We already had some flash flooding in the Imperial Valley of California on Wednesday night. So be advised to seek higher ground, stay with the Weather Channel. Also back east, some heavy rainfalls. Watch out in western North Carolina. A few thunderstorms overnight, none of those expected, though, to be severe. And some of that wind getting into the southwest, the deserts, by lunchtime Thursday. There is Nora. Most of the rest of the country clear. Our rain and our storm in the southeast. Needed rainfall for a lot of you, but a little too much. Some of you in the mountains of North Carolina have had upwards to 7 inches. And it will be a wet and soggy commute Thursday morning from Atlanta, Charlotte, up towards Richmond. Most of the rain, though, should stay south of D.C. and Baltimore as we start to get some drying in from the north and west. Look at this, tropical storm Nora into the Gulf of California. I wouldn't believe it unless I saw it on a Weather Channel map, but it's happening, and unfortunately too much rain. And that is going to be the big story. We'll keep you covered with live reports. As I mentioned, Jim Cantori in Yuma. Heavy rainfalls moving up towards Vegas and right up the chute here Thursday and Friday. How much? Locally 5 inches or more. In the desert, that could be catastrophic. We'll watch it for you. And again, just stay attuned to the Weather Channel or to where you get your local weather forecast to be advised of warnings. Temperatures tonight kind of cool in the northeast and in the Intermountain West. 90s, forget it. Not with all that rain in the southwest. By the weekend, though, it will warm up and dry out in the west. Still cool in the northeast and New England. Here comes that Pacific air mass. So the summery weather we've seen in the northern Rockies and into Seattle and Portland goes by the wayside for Saturday and Sunday, as it does get a little bit milder in New England. Showers and storms, watch out in Miami and South Florida. Tropical weather trying to develop around Jamaica. We'll have more in about 20 minutes, or about 15 minutes on the tropical update. There's Nora's moisture scooting up that front into Chicago. in St. Louis as we wrap up the weekend. More on Nora at 50 after. Your local forecast is coming up, but first let's check some city forecasts, beginning with Atlanta, Georgia.
Good morning, everyone. It's half past the hour. It is Thursday, the 25th of September. Thanks for joining us here at the Weather Channel. I'm Bruce Edwards. This is Vivian Brown on this Thursday morning. And looking on the old calendar of events, today's the 115th anniversary of the first doubleheader ever played in baseball between two teams that are no longer in existence from Providence and Worcester, Mass. They played a doubleheader in 1882. But today is also the National One-Hit Wonder Day. And you think, oh, baseball, right? No, it's those who have one hit in the record business. You know, one hit song and then sort of disappear. So it's One-Hit Wonder Day. And also today, it's you got to know about this, Viv. It's your home state. The Possum Town Pig Fest in Columbus, Mississippi, taking place today.
Really?
So they're roasting the pork today. So sounds like good eating, though, I'll bet you.
I'll tell you what, a weather event that's taking place today, actually, later on, I'm sure will go down in record books. So we're talking about a tropical storm approaching Southern California and Arizona. We'll talk more about Hurricane Nora for you. It'll be downgraded to a tropical storm by later this afternoon, but a lot of tropical moisture with it, and I'm sure we'll be checking
I'll write it down.
books. Okay, here's a look at the precipitation we've had so far. Of course, you can see the southwest on the list here. We have had quite a bit of moisture feeding in across Southern California, southwestern Arizona from our Hurricane Nora here. It has just moved right over this part of the peninsula. This is the Point Eugenia area, and the eye of the storm moved right across, and we do anticipate it to re-emerge back into open waters and eventually cross over the entire peninsula into the northern Gulf of California, and then become a tropical storm, or be downgraded to a tropical storm, and work its way across the state border here into southwestern Arizona, southeastern California, with heavy rains associated with it. Another area, of course, of heavy rain has been the southeast. The yellows, the oranges here indicating where we've had anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of rain already. We've been talking about needing the rain and rainfall deficits across the southeast. Today, I'm sure we will come closer to normal totals for the year, to date anyway, as heavy rains expected throughout the day across a good part of the southeast, from Georgia into the Carolinas. Let's focus a little bit more on this area of precipitation. Of course, it's all associated with Hurricane Nora, which is now centered about 50 miles just north of Punta Eugenia, Mexico. Again, the eye has just crossed over the southern tip here. It's moving north, and look at its forward momentum, 21 miles an hour, so it's rapidly moving northward, and the lowest estimated pressure, 980 millibars. Now, we have no available surface observations in the area, but the latest satellite imagery shows that the eye of the storm crossed right over Punta Eugenia, which is right here, and it's getting ready to re-emerge back into open waters. Eventually, we think it'll cross into the northern Gulf of California and spread all of its tropical moisture into the southwest. Now, already you can see the plume of clouds here pushing as far north as central Nevada and central California. But the rain has been found from Daggett to Palm Springs, Los Angeles, San Diego, Imperial, Oceanside, all reporting the wet weather this morning, around Phoenix too. And this is just the beginning, because All of this, of course, will be feeding northward as we go through the day, and we can easily find 3 to 5 inches of rain in this area. Flood watches have been posted, but some of the local hydrologists are indicating that the reservoirs are in pretty good shape, so we could definitely use some rain in Southern California and southwestern Arizona. We don't think it'll be too major of a problem as far as flooding goes, but we will definitely keep you up to date on the rainfall totals. The southwest again and the southeast under the gun with the wet weather this morning. A batch of moderately heavy rain moving right across northern Georgia, including Atlanta. I know it hasn't rained in quite some time, so you know what you need to do this morning. Allow extra time, at least 20 to 30 minutes extra time if you're getting on 75 to 85. Even throughout 85 in the area. It'll be a little wet for you. Just allow extra time and take it easy. I'm sure you'll have to go slower than the highway speeds to Columbia, South Carolina, Raleigh and Durham, North Carolina, Wilmington here. It's a wet start to this Thursday across a good part of the southeast. Thunderstorms here, and we might even find some isolated tornadoes. You know, that's what we typically get with tropical systems as they make landfall. Again, Hurricane Nora now should be downgraded to a tropical storm as it gets closer to southwestern Arizona and Southern California later today. And with more on your forecast, here's Bruce.
Alrighty, let's check it out. And once again, as we work our way through the day, soggy in the corners, and we're including the northeast and the northwest corner. A little system will come clipping across, scatter some showers. Fairly light, though, from about the Cleveland metro area up through Erie and Buffalo, upstate New York, back into northern New England. Southern New England, no sunny to partly sunny skies on tap for today. Not a bad day. Might see a tenth of an inch.
WeatherScope. WeatherScope.
Well, the southeast is getting a large supply of much-needed rain this morning. Meanwhile, Hurricane Nora made the first of possibly 3 landfalls already, stepping stones to what could be torrential rains in Arizona and California. Good morning and welcome to WeatherScope. I'm Vivian Brown. We have the latest on Nora's movement with a live report on preparations in the southwest. For all of that, let's go to Bruce Edwards. He's in the forecast center. Good morning, Bruce.
Good morning, Vivian, and good morning, everyone. Indeed, it is sort of crummy in the corners of the country today. We have wet weather, and we've got Nora creating some problems, unusual for Southern California to be affected by its tropical system, but there she blows, so to speak. That is Hurricane Nora, moving now across the Baja Peninsula and heading on towards the north at a very rapid rate. Here's the latest information on Nora as of the 2 a.m. Pacific time update. Nora centered 28.4 north, 114.8 west, or 50 miles roughly, north of Puerto Eugenia, Mexico. Top sustained winds at 80. It has picked up its forward progress now, moving north at 21 miles per hour. You can see a lot of cloud cover well out ahead of it. Now, the tropical storm watches and warnings posted all across the Baja east and west coast, with tropical storm watches up to Tijuana, and south of where the hurricane has now made landfall along the central Baja Peninsula. We have tropical storm warnings presently in effect. It's expected to continue that present track and actually make 3 landfalls. It's making one now right here, it's actually made one right through there. Here's the second one, and then the third one should be somewhere up around the northern Gulf of California at roughly 3 o'clock thereabouts, around 3 this afternoon, mid-afternoon Pacific time. And with it will come the wind and the rain and potentially some severe weather. We've got to look at how the hurricane has affected the Baja Peninsula thus far. Here's a look at La Paz, Mexico. Some of the effects yesterday. Again, they tried to sandbag. They had the cats working, piling up the sand and trying to create a force to keep the street flooding down. But as you can see, it's had very little effect as the storm lashed the Baja Peninsula. There are reports from folks that some of Mexico's hurricane-prone states fled their coastal homes, leaving them to the mercy of the storm. And it's continuing to rake the Baja Peninsula, and some of that moisture is already feeding up into the southwestern United States. And smack dab in what may be the path of Hurricane Nora is Jim Cantori in Yuma, Arizona. Good morning, Jim.
Well, Bruce, even though I'm in the desert, it sure feels like we're in the tropics here. It's very, very warm and sticky as it was yesterday when we got off the plane. And now the rains have returned along with a little bit of wind, and we'll get to that in just a moment. The one thing we can say about the Southwest, even though this is a desert, is these folks are more than prepared for whatever Nora is going to bring at them. Let's go ahead and take you to yesterday, where sandbags were given out early on in the day. I think they were available at 6 a.m. at the firehouse, and about half of them were gone in just a couple of hours. And folks took heed, obviously, of the situation here and started sandbagging. I mean, this is an area that only gets 2 to 3 inches of rain a year, folks. So if we could do 2 to 3 inches in a day, you could imagine what type of flooding. It takes very, very little rain to produce flash flooding around here. A lot of taping of the windows was occurring even at the hotel we were staying at. The windows were all taped up as well. And sure, we may be without water for a while and some rations. So the folks stocked up at the local stores with whatnot. Even loss of power is a potential here. You're looking outside just behind me here at the wind, which has picked up a little bit. Not dramatic, I'll be honest with you, maybe northeast at about 10 to occasionally 15 miles an hour. But it is a shift. It does seem to indicate that there's some type of a pressure gradient heading toward us. And of course, I know the fact that it's Hurricane Nora moving on to the north. And I just put my hood on here because it's just started to rain a little bit heavier. But we really haven't had a lot of heavy rain here. It's all been off to the west in the Imperial Valley, where they've already had some localized flooding there. And this is actually some good news for San Diego County this morning, because they had a bad fire that led the news story last night. And so they're happy to see the rain over there in Southern Cal.
All right, thanks very much. Jim Cantori reporting live from Yuma, Arizona. We'll have reports from Jim throughout the course of the day. Let's take a look at the radar now out of Southern California and Arizona, showing that wet weather, primarily in California, moving up from the Baja, well ahead of Hurricane Nora. And here's a look at the moisture. Jim mentioned the Imperial Valley there. Well, there's Palm Springs right on through here. And again, you can see some of the darker shades of green as all this moisture is moving in that northerly direction. Here's a little closer look now. Here's Palm Springs, some heavy bands moving on to the north of Palm Springs at the present time. LA catching some wet weather here. And again, it's all coming up out of the south. So once again, wet weather gear is needed. Nora is moving on to the north very rapidly now. If we look at the water vapor imagery, you can see its trough starting to dig out here in the west. We got high pressure to the east, so that's just funneling a pretty strong flow and bringing the moisture from Nora to the north, so the rain will be substantial. We could see locally as much as 5 inches of rain in parts of Southern California and Arizona. That is going to be responsible for some localized flooding. Flash flood watches posted where you see the dark shades of green for today. And once again, a watch means flooding is possible. A warning means is it occurring or is imminent in the warning area. And so once again, you don't want to walk or ride over flooded streets or roadways. And if you live in a flood-prone area, a low-lying area, be cautious to the rapidly changing weather conditions. So soggy in the southwestern U.S. and boy, is it soggy in the southeast. With more details, let's go back to the studio and Vivian.
Thanks, Bruce. I tell you what, as the southwest gets ready for heavy rains, the southeast is undergoing moderate to heavy precipitation this morning. Most of it here is welcomed. For much of the southeast, rain will not be letting up until later today. That means the rain you saw.
Hurricane Nora made landfall in Baja California early this morning, pounding the region with high winds and heavy rain. The storm is headed towards the United States, and parts of the southwest are already getting some rain and seeing increasing wind. We've got a Weather Channel crew live in Arizona. Now with the details, let's go to Mark Mancuso in the Forecast Center.
Thank you, Rick. And overnight, Hurricane Nora accelerated a bit. It's now moving at a speed about 24 miles an hour across the mountainous terrain of the Baja. And it is weakening. It's a minimal hurricane now with winds of 75 miles an hour. Movement north to 24. And the 5 a.m. position is brought to you by the Hurricane Center, and we do thank them for all that wonderful information. Center of circulation about 220 miles south of Yuma, Arizona, which is right there. Here's your center of circulation, and the Weather Channel's Jim Cantori will give us a live report from Yuma in just a moment. Satellite picture, though, does show the moisture really surging up here into Southern California, Southern Nevada, and Western Arizona. There have been some bands of heavier showers, raining at the rate of 0.3 of an inch an hour here in the mountains of Southern California. And we do have flood watches posted for this area in particular. Here's where the storm is. Looks like it might have taken a hair of a jog up towards the north-northeast, maybe just a satellite gridding, but the official track takes the storm pretty much in this fashion, getting close to Yuma during the mid-afternoon, late afternoon hours, and up towards east of Vegas during the wee hours tomorrow morning. Here's a look at the current warnings. Tropical storm warnings have been discontinued, but we still have the hurricane warnings and the hurricane watches and the tropical storm watches all the way up towards Tijuana. As you can see, the big threat from this storm in the U.S. will not be wind, it will be rain. This will be a big rainstorm in Southern California, desert areas, Southern Nevada, Southern Utah, and Western Arizona, where you do have flood watches. Looking back to similar storms in previous years, these areas where the flood watches are have seen 3 to 6 inch rains. So this storm is similar to some that we have seen in the past, like the storm in 21, the storm in 39, and Kathleen in 1976. So we are looking for locally 5 inches plus, but this is through midnight, but totals could exceed 5 to 10 inches here and through the mountains with time. Standing by, awaiting the onset of the higher winds and the heavier rains is Jim Cantori, and Jim's in Yuma, Arizona. And good morning, Jim. Unfortunately, no audio there from Jim. I will try and get that fixed for you and see if we can get back to him in just a moment. In the meantime, let's take a look at the radar for you. And here you can see the moisture I was talking about surging up to the southwestern United States. This is well out ahead of Nora, which is down here off the map. As we close in, Jim is standing by in Yuma. You notice he did have on his rain gear, and there has been a little bit of rain coming through. You can see some light rain moving up the lower Colorado River Valley. But down here, down in the Gulf of California, here you can see the main surge of rain, and that'll be coming on up towards southwest Arizona a little bit later on. Farther to the west, here's Los Angeles and San Diego in Southern California. And remember, we have the mountains in through here, so as the flow comes in from the east and the northeast, the tendency will be for the air to sink. So we are not looking for excessive rains on the coastal strip, but from the mountains to the east, we are looking for heavy rains, possibly 2 to 3 inches or more. So that's where we have the flood watches, the mountains and the deserts. Now, I do understand that we do have our audio problems fixed, and let's get that report from Jim. Okay, Jim, take it away.
Okay, Mark, the rain again just starting. The heaviest rain's been over to the west, which you just showed there on the Los Angeles radar in the Imperial Valley. And, you know, they're really concerned about that. 3 to 5 inches of rain in an area that doesn't receive that even in a year is a huge concern, especially if it all comes in one day. Emergency county management officials are going to meet today with a meeting at 9 a.m. They'll decide where to go, but already preliminary plans are in action, so folks are definitely ready to take heed to whatever Nora is going to bring, which, as you mentioned, is probably going to be the heavier rain. But a lot of folks are sandbagging yesterday, taking advantage of the 2,000 to 3,000 sandbags that have been delivered here in Yuma. Also taping up the windows. Even winds 30 to 50 miles an hour can cause some structural damage around here, and even some of the power poles, they're concerned about losing power later on this afternoon. But right now, it is a steady light rain, and so far the ground has been able to take it in. Mark, back to you.
Hey, Jim, thank you. And conditions should worsen this afternoon. High wind watches and flood watches out, of course, and we'll be getting the reports from you as the weather deteriorates. And again, the big story, a major rainstorm for the Southwest on tap as Nora moves northward. Now let's check on the forecast around the U.S., and here's Rick.
Well, Mark, the story in the southeast is rain as well. We do have a slow-moving storm system that is already dumping heavy rain in parts of the region, and rain will continue in parts of the area most of today. Those of you in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina will see showers all day today, although the wet weather will tend to taper off by mid-afternoon. Yesterday, as you can see, you had rain. It was happening all day long with well over 1 inch of precipitation. It was chilly too. Temperatures stayed in the 50s during the afternoon. Now today will be a bit warmer, highs in the 60s, but still well short of the average high, which is right around 80 degrees here in late September. Let's go to regional radar. Yes, indeed, we have a little light rain near Raleigh, Durham this morning, but the steadiest precipitation is to your south. So towns like Wilmington, Lumberton, Florence, Columbia,